Welcome, everybody. Brian Kenny here. It's another edition of MLB Now. Our special guest today is Vice President, Major League Baseball, Special Assistant to the Commissioner of Baseball. He's been on the show many times, Billy Beane. Billy, it's Brian Kenny. Great to have you back on the show.
It's great to see you, Brian. I'm happy to be here, and we're all very excited about the week ahead, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, a lot to talk about. Let's start with baseball. It's coming back. Obviously, with the pandemic and still with what we're hearing out there, cooperation will be vital, like now more than ever, between the players and the league. We know negotiations were not great, yet it's moving forward. How does the league and the Players Association get past that in a spirit of cooperation?
Well, I think this is where the term professional comes into play. I think everyone knows, regardless of how the negotiations played out in the press, that we all want baseball to be played. And so there's a common ground there that I remember that as a player, just hoping that we would get through those work stoppages. I was a part of one in 1994 and also in 1990. But now I think there is a deep understanding that we must work together because the health of the players is the number one priority, the health of their families, all the moving parts that it takes to get a Major League Baseball game underway. And we're really have been learning on the fly, what type of concessions, bare bones, are we going to be able to commit to in order to get the best product on the field. And I think the dialogue inside of those negotiations with our resumption of play committee, Chris Young, former player, has been an amazing addition to the commissioner's office over the last year and a half. We have a great committee, some former players on there, Gregor Blanco, Nick Hundley, myself, people like Peter Woodford, Paul Mifsud, essential. But a deep understanding and a good dialogue when it came to what we have to do to be providing the safest environment for the players to compete.
People are starting to come back out, depending on where you are in the country. I'm seeing reports out there that there could be fans at ball games in some instances. Is that the case?
Well, it's interesting where you happen to be sitting geographically, because the narrative is different in every state. And the news of fans in the ballpark obviously jumps to the top of the media feed. The state of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott there, the federal government is allowing states to legislate groups and the numbers of groups based on social distancing. And the state of Texas has probably one of the, I would guess, least resistant to crowd control, in a way that trying to allow each of those companies to manage themselves in a responsible way. So the way that my interpretation of their Governor Greg Abbott's comments were, the clubs are going to be responsible for providing a safe space for their fans. So the dialogue for the Astros or the Texas Rangers, how they're portrayed to their communities, that's going to have a big part of it. I think there's a real respect and understanding for the comprehensive effort that MLB has gone to create a safe environment for the players. The way the season, the vision of how that would play out has changed multiple times over the last 60, 70 days, and really changed the whole dialogue each and every time. There was thought about a season, in Arizona, much like the NBA might be doing in a bubble type of an environment. But now we're going to be in our big league ballparks. They're going to be preparing for the season in those ballparks. And each and every time, wherever you are, based on your state, it's going to be unique to that place. But I think the main thing that we've been seeing is what the state of Texas plans on doing.
Okay, so it will be case by case, or is Major League Baseball then also advising? I know things are in a state of flux. Week by week, things change, but is that what's going to be happening?
Well, I think that everything depends on the state of each ball club, and if there is, in the worst case scenario, we're starting to see that playing is not in the best interest of the players, then the clubs, I think, will dictate that dialogue in the big picture. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out, because I think everything has been a wait and see kind of process, and that's what I think keeps the commissioner up at night. And we're constantly trying to dialogue and flesh out scenarios that we haven't seen taken place. And I think we are trained to take the worst case scenario into consideration, because again, like I said, the safety and well-being is the most important factor when it comes to getting the season underway.
No, Billy, we've been doing these, remote MLB Nows now for a few months, and it's week to week things change. So I think people understand that week to week, we're dealing with different things. You were brought in, for people who don't know, you were brought into the league office 6 years ago, initially as the ambassador of inclusion. And I know you've had a huge impact on baseball and in getting out there and spreading awareness, even to the players, to fans, and pride nights at ball games, which is a regular thing now, which was, not happening years ago. Inclusion very much in the news now with much more of a racial awareness, Billy. Where's Major League Baseball on that?
Well, we've seen a cultural shift since the incidents that portrayed, the horrific images that portrayed in Minneapolis on May 25th with the death of George Floyd. June 3rd, MLB made an amazing statement of solidarity and acceptance for the Black Lives Matter movement. And, racism has been a part of this country since we've been a country. And I think the opportunity that we have in this shift has given players the confidence to really utilize their platform and be agents of change. And part of the work that I've been doing over the last 6 years at MLB, and maybe the last 20 years for the LGBT plus community, is that my community has a long history of fighting or protesting for civil rights awareness. And the most responsible thing that we can do to be a part of the solution is we must stand side by side with our African-American brothers and sisters and be a part of this dialogue. And I was so proud of baseball to step in and really share the values that we have. And all along, as the sport of Jackie Robinson, all the initiatives that we've had to try to bring people of color into executive positions, the youth programming headed up by Tony Regans. We've had amazing numbers, through the draft of African-American athletes that are choosing baseball over football and basketball, and seeing the, long-term opportunities there. It's been really, really an incredible experience personally to see a united stand in a conversation that I think a lot of us have had to look in the mirror and say, well, maybe that didn't affect me directly, and it was easy for me to just go about my own business. And I think that as a communicator to our players, it's vital that I integrate the social justice initiatives that MLB is working on. We've made some incredible financial commitments to organizations like Campaign Zero, Color of Change. We've been a huge supporter of the Jackie Robinson Foundation forever, NAACP, Defense and Education Fund, and Equal Justice Initiative, organizations that are directly participating in the action to end systemic racism. And it's a just beginning. And I think the beauty of this opportunity is that for a long time, I think our players were reticent to stand up because just the way the structure of MLB and baseball, it takes a long time for a player to have leverage. And that's been that way since the beginning. But now the players really, I think, are going to feel a sense of support to be integral in their activations in their own communities. And I think that can only really be a wonderful opportunity for MLB to share our values and spread that word.
Well, no, well put. I know you've been at the forefront of this, and you felt that in your own life, as a gay man playing Major League Baseball, and only you and Glenn Burke have ever come out after playing Major League Baseball. Just give me quickly, Billy, before we run out of time, the significance of the Supreme Court ruling last week, where the court ruled that firing a person on basis of sexual orientation or gender identity is unlawful. The significance of that.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of people, and ever since that ruling on June 15th, in half the countries in the United States, until June 15th and that ruling, it was still legal to fire somebody based on their sexual orientation or their gender identity or expression. And a lot of my friends are like, that can't be true. But I said, it was. And so if you are a part of that community like myself, knowing that if you there's the part of the legislation was a well decorated educator in Georgia who was a player in a gay softball league, and somebody found out about it and it didn't align with the religious beliefs of the owner of that company, and he was fired. I mean, it's so there's, I think it was a 20-year battle, and so many people put their hats in the ring to try to create change. And it's all it is really allowing everyone the same opportunity to live the most highest quality of life that they want. And I think that aligns every way with what's happening with the Black Lives Matter conversations. It's just about equality. And I think that the timing of it was amazing, happening inside of that same conversation, because there was a lot of people that I know were thinking this is just going to be shelved until a later date. And it was really a little glimpse of light during a very difficult month that we've all been witnessing, not even to mention the pandemic and all the things that every citizen has been learning to survive with right now.
Well, that was the case, you said, in half the states. I think you said half the countries, half the states in the United States.
Half the states had legal state-level legislation that would allow, and a lot of times those states just hadn't gone to the trouble of changing the law. There was, many states created, people here in New York were not subjected to that. But the fact that how much work it takes to get a law changed, and the message it sends for someone who's young and grows up in a place, and someone says, hey, did you know that you don't have the same rights that I do because you are brave enough to be your best self and come out as part of the LGBTQ community? And thankfully, that is behind us now.
Billy, always good to get your insight. Good luck with everything. I know you're busy every single day as we get closer now to the season, and we'll talk again. Thank you so much, Billy.
All right, Brian, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.